My. Thank you for joining us on A New Day for You on NspireU on Air, the new beat of the Bay, now on Contentville. Folks, I can't tell you how excited I am to have joining us today a remarkable gentleman. I feel blessed, excited. If you could actually be present with us in the room right now, you'd see that I'm covered with goosebumps because this man is a dynamo. Joining us on A New Day for You today is the remarkable, the accomplished president of Bishop State Community College, President Olivier Charles. President Charles, good day and God bless, peace and blessings to you, and welcome to A New Day for You.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful for the invitation.
Well, we're grateful that you received it warmly and accepted it. And thanks to all your staff that makes it possible to even have a chat with a person like yourself. You've got a very, very busy itinerary and schedule and a remarkable number of things on the horizon that you are looking forward to bring to the community via Bishop State. So let's get this party started by just simply allowing you the opportunity to share who is President Olivier Charles and tell us a little bit about how you came to be at this point in your life that has now become a blessing to us, the beneficiaries of your proximity, your vision, your focus, and your experiences.
Well, again, thank you so much, Dr. Richardson, for having me. I'm humbled, always humbled when I get to talk a little bit about Bishop State. I can be long-winded, and that's just because I love this place and love this community so much. Uh, I have been fortunate enough to be the president of this college for a year and a half. Prior to coming to Bishop State, I served as the vice chancellor for student success with the Alabama Community College System. So I helped oversee student services for all 24 community colleges in the entire state. Prior to that, I was fortunate to serve as the dean of students at Enterprise State Community College. And before that, I worked at Auburn University at Montgomery as a director of admissions and recruitment and handled some marketing for them as well. And then my first job, I guess my second job out of college, I was the director of admissions and enrollment management at my alma mater, the University of West Alabama. But my first job was I was a recruiter. I got to travel all over the state, trying to tell kids and spread the gospel about that university and what it did for me to convince them to come to school there. But all of that led me to this point in my career, and I get to tell folks I have the best job in the world. It's the most humbling job because I work down from at the college that I grew up down the street from. So I am from the neighborhood where my college is. I did not have the good fortune of going to school here, but I'm very familiar with the community as I am a part of it. So this has been, when I say it's been the most humbling job, I sincerely mean it. Because I get to walk around the street and know people's parents and brothers and cousins, and it's really good to come back home. And it's kind of a serendipitous moment for me. I think I'm uniquely positioned. I always believe that we all are where he wants us to be. I'm uniquely positioned. I grew up born and raised in Haiti, in Port-au-Prince, so in a third world country where things like education and healthcare were not afforded to me unless you were able to go through private school. And my mother sold everything that she owned for us to get on a boat to try to come to the U.S. So I was a Haitian refugee that was fortunate enough to get asylum to the U.S. and lived in Guantanamo Bay for a year as a kid in a refugee camp. I tell folks that my first job, I was 10 years old. I learned how to speak English very quickly. So I became a translator for the U.S. military, and I got to ride around with them in Gitmo and translate for different families and things. And fast forward a few years, we're able to make it out of that, and we ended up in Mobile, Alabama. Humbled by every means, because there's no way I'm supposed to be where I am. But I do my best to give as much of it back as I can. So that's why I keep using the word humble, because I certainly don't deserve everything that I've been able to receive, but we do our best to give as much of it back to the people of this community that we can.
Wow. And I can recall the retelling of some elements of that story when I got a chance to hear you speak at a number of events most recently, but most significantly was the luncheon for the Youth of the Year Award with the Boys and Girls Clubs of South Alabama. And I mean, I tell you, you really set that thing off, man. So many times, there are elements of our community that focus more on the obstacles than the overcoming, that really think about, the challenges they faced. And you often hear people say things like that. And I used to say this, I've removed that from my language of we're all products of our environment, because we, you and I, as many of our loyal listeners know, that there are many instances by which people have overcome the circumstances of their environment, their experiences, their background, their trauma, to rise like the phoenix from the ashes and become so much more than anyone anticipated them being. And I'm not going to, unless you decide to talk about it, talk about all that Haiti represents within the diaspora of our community in terms of being the first state, country, nation to free itself from the shackles of poverty and develop its own nation status. And notwithstanding the interference, which typically finds itself always on an economic scale, and the indebtedness that the French government perpetrated against the island nation of Haiti, and even the things that the United States have done historically. Nevertheless, we've got a model for overcoming circumstance and situation. And I would be remiss if I didn't hand it back to you and really afford you the opportunity to say something about the remarkable woman who is your mother.
Oh, absolutely.
Sell everything and get you guys to the United States of America. And now I'm sitting here having audience with presidents of universities with such humble beginnings. So you can talk a little bit more about that, or you can go right into some of the things that you've got going on at Bishop State. It's totally up to you.
No, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Number one, I'm never going to turn down an opportunity to talk about my hero, so what an amazing person. First I'll say that, I am so blessed and fortunate to be a Haitian American. Just like you said, Haiti is the only country that ever fought for its freedom and won it. So, what an amazing spirit that still exists with Haitian people today. And I'm so grateful to be a part of that lineage. And I will not lie to you and tell you that my mother instilled that same spirit into all of us. There is a certain pride that Haitian people have in who they are and what they can do. And I can share millions and millions of stories with you. But, my mother always has just done everything for us. Growing up, she had two jobs. My mom was a chef, a trained chef, and she was a nanny for a wealthy family. And that's how she was able to pay for us to go to private school, Catholic school, when I was younger. So to make that decision to sell everything so that we can have a better life was the ultimate sacrifice. And she's still around today. Of course, she lives in Mobile and she's doing really well. But to have the foresight to do that, my God, right? For her and three kids to get on a boat and just float towards something better. And while we were living in the U.S., the rest of that story is when we got here and we were picked up, our family was given $500. Our first month's rent was paid at the place that we were living. And this group helped my mother get a job. And that was it. And they said, go be Americans, gave us $500 and said, go be Americans, go figure it out. And that spirit, allowed us to figure it out. We had to figure out school. She had to figure out work. And at the end of the day, we had to figure out how to still be together and be a family. So that unit, still till this day is strong, and she's still the matriarch of our family. But I tell you what, Marie Charles is no joke. She is a serious woman, and when she talks, we listen. But at the same time, she is the most caring person in the world. I remember all of the sacrifices she made for me, even when I was younger, to be able to play basketball and do all of these things. And she was doing it all for me, and she put herself aside. So the first chance that I had to do as much as I can for her, like you would for your mom. We all go above and beyond to make sure that the person that puts so much into us, is taken care of. I'll share with you a powerful moment that my mother and I had when I was 17 years old. I'm 17 years old. I'd never seen my mom cry before. She's just and if she did, she probably did it in private where we couldn't see it. One morning she woke me up. I was in high school. I was kind of drifting the wrong way. I had no desires of, going to college or doing anything with my life. I was just kind of going through the motion. She woke me up that morning and she asked me to drive her to the store, which I instantly knew something was wrong because she never asked me to drive her to the store. But we get to the store, I park the car, And she just kind of starts crying, and she shares with me, and I'm going to sum it up. She said, you're my only son, you're my last born, and you are the man of our family. I need you to do something. I need you to do, because she told me I had two choices. She said, you can go to work or you can go to school. Either way, you're going to have to get out the house. So I need you to do something. And I could feel the pain, but also the seriousness of what she said.
Yeah, that moment, yes.
Yeah, it was a moment for us. And I had no desire of going to college. I just didn't feel that it was for me. I thought about the military, and that's what I was interested in doing. But I won't say she talked me out of it, but she asked me to consider an alternative because my sister at the time was in Kuwait. And this is at the height of 9/11. We're at war, and she just didn't want two kids in her mind. She didn't want two of her kids overseas. So she said, just go later. But right now, I need you to go to school. I need you to do something. And that was the moment that motivated me to go to college. It wasn't me. It was her pushing me, saying that I've got to do something better. And, the beauty of education, and I tell everybody this that's an educator, the beauty of education is the light bulb goes off at a different point for every student.
Yes.
And for me, the light bulb didn't go off until I was about 20, 21 years old. And I remember the moment. And I share that because I'm married to an educator. I'm an educator, but a big part of education is realizing that the light bulb, when it happens at some point in a student's or a person's life. And I still remember that moment when it happened. And it was like, I got to get myself together and I got to go, 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 go. I'm blessed to say I haven't looked back since. So I'm grateful for my mother for really pushing that moment for me.
Mhm. You bet. I tell you, thank you for sharing that with us. And you know, I there's so much in just that short statement of circumstances and facts. And I'm reminded of not only people overcoming circumstances and situations in difficult times, but quite frankly, I'm moved by the power of the Black woman.
Mm,
I'm moved by the willingness to take on the leadership roles and there's not much more I can say that would go beyond what you've already shared, but I'm grateful. This particular platform that we operate on was started in terms of a mother and daughter team. Candace and Amberly, the Down South Diva, started the NspireU platform. So we're Black female owned and operated, and the sacrifice, the struggle, the power and influence of people that are focused on the mission is just, it can't be denied. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. I really do. It makes me reflect on my own mom, who unfortunately I lost in 2022. But she's a constant presence and reminder in my life of all that is possible. And the one other element that I'll speak to, because it's so much a part of what we do on this particular radio platform, it's about the love. It's about the love that your mother shared, the love that your mother showed, and the willingness to push you to new heights. And now you find yourself and your lovely First Lady bride being educators. And that's no easy task. I don't know how often we can say that the teachers make such a difference in everything that we do. Matter of fact, we start each and every other show off with this Harold Melvin story, the song "Wake Up Everybody," and it talks about, get the teachers to teach a new day.
yeah.
Well, enough of me talking. Let's talk a little bit more about President Olivier Charles. Okay, so what kind of things, I know about an abundance of things you're doing, but I'm not going to speak to it. I'm going to allow you the freedom and flexibility to be able to speak on this platform about that. But let's talk a little bit about some of the things that are currently going on at Bishop State and some of the things you've got your eyes on that you're free to share. I realize there may be some things that you're unable to share with us, but that's quite a remarkable story and what a remarkable journey. And my dear friend and brother, my colleague, Dr. M.A. Behef, his great grandmother has often said, and I quote it frequently, is that life is a journey whose outcome is uncertain.
Mm,
And, we traverse so many miles and all these other things, but you've got a lot of great stuff going on. And not to focus your attention on this, but the Bishop State Community College athletics program had some celebratory moments that go beyond the boundaries of Bishop State Community College and give us all something to celebrate. So why don't you tell a little about what's going on now and what things you want our loyal listeners at NspireU on Air, the new beat of the Bay, to pay
Yeah.
attention to?
Listen, thank you for allowing me the platform. First, athletics. I don't even know where to start. We are so fortunate here that we have some of the best coaches in all of our programs. Bishop State competes in men's basketball, women's basketball, softball, baseball, and volleyball. I would put our 5 coaches of those programs against anyone in the country. And I mean D1, D2, NAIA, it doesn't matter. They are top notch. But we've been able to see some success. First, starting with our volleyball program. Our volleyball program is in its 4th year. Our volleyball coach has already won Coach of the Year. We've competed in the state championship game 2 years, and we've made it to the semifinal game in a year, and 1 year as well. So we've already got a winning culture there. But this year, we were also fortunate that our basketball team made some history as well.
Yes.
First, our women's team had a fantastic season. Second winningest season in school history.
Wow.
They made it all the way to the state semifinal game, and they lost by 2 points in the state semifinal game. But here's my favorite thing about that story. My favorite thing about that story is at the end of this school year, we will have at least 6 student athletes, female student athletes, that are going to play at the next level.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah,
That's
we've
tremendous.
had a young lady sign to Troy. We've had one signed to Alabama State. We've had a couple signed to Shorter. We've got a couple being looked at by a couple more schools. So it's been an amazing season. So Coach Adria Harris is a fantastic coach and a dynamic recruiter. Our men's program, men's basketball program, led by Trent Eager, who was also our athletic director and our head men's basketball coach, had a phenomenal season. So they've broken a few records. So it might take me a while to list all of them. Number one,
You
they
go on
won.
with your bad self. Go
Look,
ahead.
they won the most games in school history. So they set a record there.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they won the most winningest season in school history. They went undefeated at home the entire season, 15-0 at home. So they set a record there. They were number 1 in the conference, and they won the conference outright. First conference regular season conference victory for Bishop State ever. We made it all the way to the championship game, state championship game, lost in overtime. An emotional game, and those kids played and competed their hearts out. So I'm really proud of them. So to add more to it, Trent Eager, our men's coach, also won the state coach of the year, first time
Ooh,
in school history as
wow.
well. So a history-filled basketball season. And I'll say, just like I said with basketball, the beauty of that moment is almost every single one of his sophomores has a scholarship offer to play at the next level. So
Man.
you can't beat that kind of success. And I tell folks, the wins are great, and I'm really proud of the wins, but I'm really proud of the fact that our coaches are leading and training and bringing up young men and young women who I know are going to be leaders tomorrow. They pour their hearts into those programs, and you can see it, the way that their athletes love them, the way that they play hard for them. We don't have any disciplinary issues. All of our teams have an average GPA of 3.0. So
Come on.
that's what makes me
Now
proud.
you're talking.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
yes,
what makes
yes.
me proud, is that we've embraced the model of a true student athlete, and our students give their best on the court or on the field, but they also work their tails off in the classroom, so that I know when they leave here, wherever they go, they're going to contribute. So kudos to our coaches for running the programs the way they do, for recruiting the kind of kids that they do. But it's just been a phenomenal year for us so far with athletics. And baseball and softball are playing right now, and they're both off to a good start. We've got a kid right now playing at the University of Alabama that came from here last year, Gage Miller. He's one of the top home run hitters in the country. So not just in the state. Gage Miller, check him out. He's one of the top home run hitters in the country. So I'm really proud of him. But there's just a standard here. There's a winning culture that we're building, and we want our city and our community to come and be a part of it. So thank you for letting me talk about athletics, because I'm not just proud of the wins and losses. I'm proud of the type of people that we're building here, that I know are going to contribute to society. So it's just been a story for us.
That is tremendous. Absolutely. And listen, man, I don't know what the process is for Bishop State, but please keep me informed about whatever the celebratory nature is of hanging a banner,
Yes, sir.
acknowledgments, or recognitions. I want to be in the room when the spirit and that energy is released into our community because I can benefit from it as well,
Well,
even as an old timer, you
I'd
know?
love to have you come speak to our athletes. You know, our basketball team last week was recognized by the city council. So
Yes, I saw that.
it was
Yeah.
really good. Councilman Corey Penn read a proclamation for the team and also for Coach Eager for his accomplishment. So we're so grateful for the community support. Our foundation put a billboard up on Airport Boulevard
Yes.
congratulating the team so that the city can see and celebrate with them. And I'd hate to brag, but I'm going to brag because I
No,
feel
no,
like
don't hate it at all.
this
Go for
this
it.
is this is just the beginning. This is just the
Wow.
beginning for us and our students. And I love when people meet our student athletes. I mean, they are just some of the most respectful kids you'll ever meet. They all just they come serious and ready to work. They're just the most respectful group, but they are also the most dedicated and disciplined group as well. And there's life lessons in that. So they truly embrace it. But and you can only give kudos to the coaches because they're the ones that really make that happen. But that's a small segment about what we have going on as a college. We've been very fortunate that Bishop State has grown at least 25% each semester for the last 5 semesters. So
Wow,
currently,
that's
right,
remarkable numbers.
yes, sir. So currently, right now, we are 30% ahead enrollment wise compared to where we were at this time last year. And 30% for us equates to about 700 students. So we're 700 students ahead in terms of our head count where we are compared
My
to where we were at
goodness.
this time last year. So we're growing at a rapid pace. We are statistically the fastest growing community college in the state of Alabama. We've added some new programs as well to help our students. We've built some amazing partnerships with industry, but also with K-12, and we're very fortunate to all of our partners for doing that, for partnering with us. I tell folks I love the companies in our community, and I hope they don't get jealous when I say this, but the most important partner that we have is Mobile County Public Schools and Washington County Schools. They are our feeding pattern. Those are the service areas that we serve, and we work extremely hard to have strong ties and strong partnerships with every single high school in our service area. And kudos to all of the superintendents, Superintendent Threadgill, Wofford, superintendent all over the service area that we serve. They have all been so welcoming to us. They've allowed our recruiters to go into their schools. The principals have allowed our recruiters to go into the schools. The counselors have as well. We are in the middle of something that we do every year. We call it the Wildcat Road Trip. We have this crazy vision that we are going to meet every single one of our students where they are. So that is literally what we do. So we take our admissions office, our financial aid office, our recruiters, our marketing team, IT team, we put them all literally on one of our buses and we go to a high school and we set up stations for the students throughout that day. And on one day, a student can apply, get accepted, register for fall classes, apply for financial aid, get a Bishop State t-shirt, and get a Bishop State yard sign to put in their front yard. And we do it all at their high school. So we literally take our operation to where they are to remove the barriers of them having to come to campus to register
Yes.
for classes. And that has been so successful for us because, again, we serve every student. And we realize that some of our students face that barrier of transportation, childcare. I can't get there. You know, I can't be there physically for a class. So we make it our business to remove as many of those barriers as possible to get our students educated. So I'm very grateful to our K-12 partners because we wouldn't be able to do all of this if they didn't allow us to do it. But I'm also grateful for our industry partners because they help us make these things happen. So companies like Airbus and Austal, it's easy to name them because they're big companies and they have big impact. But we also work with small businesses as well. And that's where that workforce development piece is so important for us. Because at the end of the day, Bishop State does three things. We like to think that we train students or educate students for transfer. So they start here with us, and in 2 years they go to Alabama, Auburn, Alabama State, you know, Grambling, A&M, wherever they want to go, and we prepare them for that. The second thing we do is what we call career and transfer education, which are specialty fields, right? If a student wants to be an electrician, if a student wants to go into advanced manufacturing, if they want to be a nurse, if they want to be a barber, you know, all of those things. If they want to be a chef, all of those things are what we call career and transfer education. The third thing that we do is what we call workforce development education. And that can mean whatever it needs to mean for the audience, right? Because for some people, it's boutique. For Airbus, it's them creating their own program where a student gets trained to come work for Airbus and start at $50,000 a year. It's a great program. For Alabama Power, it means we stand up a lineman program where in 10 weeks, a student can go through one of our programs and walk into Alabama Power as a lineman and start at $65,000 a year. For Austal, it means the program that we just stood up for them a couple of weeks ago that literally takes 3 weeks for a student to go through, and they're guaranteed an interview, which will lead to a job at the end of it. So those workforce models are boutique, and they look very different for everybody. We even work with the port. We have a program with the port where we are actually training their current employees because they have an aging workforce. So we're training up their current employees to get them up to speed to be able to operate machines as their workforce is retiring as well. So we do a lot of different things, big or small, within different industries. But that workforce umbrella is broad, and we like it like that because we realize that every company and every industry has a different need. We even have a program with the city of Mobile. It's called a contractors college.
Oh, I know. I came through your inaugural cohort. I
So I don't
insisted.
need to sell that.
No, please, because I
Well,
think it's important that people know more about it,
yeah, it's an
especially from you.
absolutely. Well, it's an amazing program. What I love about it is I think the overall aim of that program, in my opinion, is we are taking people that, you know, may be handymen or may have a business, and we're turning them into contractors. And that's a
Precisely.
whole different ball game. So, you know, whether it's being bonded, whether it's learning how to estimate, it's making sure that those people have that skill set, because once they have the skill set and have the designation, it qualifies them to be able to bid and to earn more work with the city and other entities and beyond. So kudos to the city for doing that, but also kudos to all of the people that have gone through that college, because we partner with the city to make that happen. So we've seen that morph, and it's continuing to morph. So Archneat Kid and everybody from the city does a great
Yes.
job of putting so much into that program. I know I'm not shy about it. I love to see as many minority-owned businesses as possible, and particularly in that construction field, it's so wide open right now. And we have so many people that are handymen, and we're trying to get them to become contractors. And there are a couple more zeros and commas, you know, when you get there. So we want to do everything we can to lift our community, and that's the goal of a community college. If we're not connected to the people, whether that's churches, the faith group, whether it's the city, the public and municipal entities, or the educational entities, if we're not connected to our city, then we never know what's going on. So we see ourselves as the economic engine that drives Mobile forward. You know, it should make sense that when we recruit a new business here, the first question they ask is, where can my employees get trained? And that answer should always be Bishop State. When that answer stops being Bishop State, then I got a problem. And maybe it's time to go when that answer stops being Bishop State. But at the same time, we want to be at the forefront of that, to always be the place that propels people to work. And there is no shame in any of our programs, because they are all what we call high wage, high demand. And I brag about truck driving a lot because it's such a good example for me. And I tell folks, if you are making $12 an hour and I can get you through an 8-week truck driving program and you can make $30 an hour, that's life changing, that's family changing, that's tax bracket changing, and that's generational change, right? Through an 8-week program. And truck driving is the highest and #1 in demand job in the state. There is no shame in that job. In fact, there's honor in that work. So we have those types of programs that we feel literally impact people's lives. And we want to continue to stand up programs like that, because we want Bishop State to be the beacon for everyone in this community that wants to do something different or do something better.
Wow, I am so grateful that you shared all of that. But I want to kind of back up through that a little bit because, you know, because I'm familiar with your curriculum vitae
Yes,
and
sir.
all that you accomplished before you arrived back home in community. Um, I remember thinking, man, this guy is remarkable. He's done so many things from your early parts of your career until most recently before arriving here. And the phrase that came to my mind when I first recognized that you were coming here was how I've often thought about the path and the journey that I'm on, and how every element of that process prepared me to be successful at the opportunity that presented itself now. And in some ways, I think of all the things you accomplished before you got here. And I think, wow, well, you know, this job might be perceived by others as lesser than all that you accomplished before you got here relative to your process across the state. But the fact of the matter is, for such a time as this, you are the appointed man at the appointed time to lead this work. And to juxtapose all that you shared about the workforce development efforts and things of that sort, but well, just put it in context relative to transparency, for many, many years, I appeared in front of the city council and argued that there was not adequate representation within the contractors that were picking up municipal contracts. And I was so grateful when the Honorable Mayor of the City of Mobile, Sandy Simpson, found Arshanique and brought her into the fold and allowed her to develop that minority workforce development program, better understand how the department heads identify work for them. Not to mention, and I'd like to include you in this, we could talk about this offline, but I try to meet with Superintendent Threadgill at least once every other month because there's just so many things. He, like you, has a vision for things that he'd like to see accomplished. But I wanted to just push back a little bit, that's not the right word, transition back, so to speak, because I remember interviewing some individuals as related to the historic Africatown community. And some of the older citizens of that community spoke so well of the whole educational process as it related to our community. And the thing that I was most impressed about was the School of Nursing and the credentials, reputation that was regarded for those persons that came through that program. And how, despite the civil rights movement's effects, those folks came out of Bishop State, the most highly trained, 100% graduation rate, successfully able to engage patients and provide treatment. And even though some of the teachers that may have been more people of color were not necessarily allowed to perform those services for people in our community at the hospitals that had white patients, they were always highly regarded, highly respected, and so much so, in fact, those people that were considering nursing classes at other schools said, no, you know what, we need to come to Bishop State if we really want to get it right. And what that represented to us as a community, not just from an educational standpoint, community building, families, but the career process. So, I mean, it's just the history, the legacy, and the future is so bright. And I'm so very grateful for your leadership, your continuity, and all that is probably inside the heart and mind that you may not speak about today, that we will be the beneficiaries of in the very near future. So kudos to you, kind sir. Kudos to you.
No, thank you. It's not me. It's our people. You know, our nursing program, I think is indicative of to be honest, I think our nursing program is indicative of Black people and the struggle, right? Because we have always taken the scraps and we've turned them into delicacies. And you know, chitlins, oxtails,
Yes,
go on.
yes,
We've taken those things and turned them into delicacies. And that's what our nursing program was, right? You know, 70 years ago, it was, hi, y'all figure it out over there. And you know what we did? We didn't just figure it out, we made it a top tier program.
absolutely.
And even still till this day, it is a top tier program, and we've just modernized it. We just remodeled our Center for Nursing and Health Sciences, and we're gracious to be able to do that because we received a gift from Clarence Ball. So we
Oh, my
remodeled that whole
man, yes,
building. Yeah,
yes.
remodeled that whole program. And our ADN program is in the 90th percentile in NCLEX pass rate. Our PN program, our practical nursing program, is one of the top PN programs in the state. We have a physical therapy assistant program that has a 96% pass rate on state licensure. So, you know, that spirit is still there. And you know, what I love about those programs is that they're flexible. So we realize that a lot of our students work. So we offer classes in the morning, in the evening, nights, weekends, and hybrid. So, you know, whatever a student has, whatever schedule a student has, we try to make ourselves available to meet them. So, you know, thank you for bringing that up. I didn't get a chance to even dive into specific programs, but our health sciences programs are all rocking, and we have strong ties and relationships with every healthcare provider in our region. So I'm very grateful to Dr. Andrea Agnew for her leadership of that program.
And I'll tell you, man, something else that's fairly remarkable also that bears highlighting is the partnerships, the collaboration. You mentioned the superintendents, but in my particular case, Superintendent Threadgill. And I remember this whole dual enrollment concept,
Oh yeah.
the idea of the K through 12 group being able to acquire credits that they could then utilize when they consider collegiate activities, and how that, one, diminishes the expense for the family, the preparation for the student, provides some element of success that makes them believe that they can succeed outside of the classroom that was their high school, and what that meant to a community. And of course, I think it would be really, really important to note that all of these partnerships that you, strategies and formulations, not to mention, you mentioned my dear friend Clarence Ball, the infusion of monies that have now transformed your campus. That building where, you know, the technology and all the other stuff is going on, where the cohort was for the contractors college. And I mean, that is a tremendous space. So much, in fact, remember, I even asked you guys to allow me to have Congressman Thompson
Yeah.
do our luncheon there. And I see a lot more people are taking advantage of that remarkable space that you've got there. So there's just so much going on. And the last thing I want to mention, and we only have maybe about 10 minutes left, but I want to mention the fact is that you, on one of our early conversations as it related to workforce development, not just all of the programs you have, transportation, trucking. I had some background in the oil industry, and you have a kind of a processes manufacturing component there, which is remarkable, where a person can come in there and learn how to manage all of the flows of the materials through a plant system. There's just so much stuff going on in Bishop State, and it's so very exciting, from the athletics to the leadership to the team to the collaborative efforts to what it means to us as a community. And I'm just so grateful for the fact that you're here with us to do all of that. So if you don't mind, in the last few moments that we have, you can talk about whatever you like, but we've talked about the history, we've talked about the current events that are going on, moments to celebrate. The future clearly looks bright under your leadership and your team, and the sacrifices and struggles of the students, the families, the community, and your staff. What would you like to share with our loyal listeners on NspireU on Air, the newbie to the Bay, about upcoming programs, initiatives that we might want to be in mind of as we consider all that's going on your campuses across the metropolitan area?
So I want everyone listening to know that we're not done yet.
I like it.
We're not done yet. So we just launched our strategic plan for Bishop State for the next 3 years. And our strategic plan is really simple. It focuses on 5 areas: our students, our people, our employees, our programs, our facilities, and our community. Those are the 5 things that, as a college, that we are going to be strategically focused on for the next 3 years. So what we tell people is everything is important, but if we focused on everything, then nothing would get done. So we've kind of honed in our focus, and we've built something. We're building something that we feel like is going to be sustainable for a long time. I don't mind sharing with you that facility-wise, in about 3 years, we hope to make Bishop State look even better than it's looking. We just launched bids for 3 major projects on our downtown campus. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to bury all of our power lines. We live in Hurricane Central. So we're going to make campus a little cleaner, a little neater, and remove power lines. I know that's not sexy, but it's certainly something that we need to do. We are going to create a yard, a green space. You can't be an HBCU without a yard, right? So we are creating a yard space
Yes.
for our students to be able to gather and congregate. And our flagship renovation, which we hope to have done in less than 3 years, we are going to remodel our student center on our main campus and create spaces for students to study, create spaces for students to be, and really set a space that's going to be the heartbeat of our campus. A student center will be where everything non-academic will be, but all of the support for all of our students will be. So we plan to have one of the best student centers in the state at our downtown campus. We are also investing $10 million additionally. Even though we're making renovations to our Southwest and Carver campus, we plan to dump $10 million additional dollars into each campus to add more programs and to create more facades and create a more collegiate feel. And the last thing that we want to do is we want to remodel our truck driving campus. Truck driving has its own campus on Halls Mill Road. Truck driving is our most popular technical education program. It's a fast-paced 8-week program, 98% job rate. Our instructors there do a fantastic job but we need to give them a new facility. So we're strategically focused on how we can upgrade their facility as well. We're strategically, again, facilities is so important that it's a part of our strategic plan, because we know that if we create these environments where people feel comfortable coming to, learning in, and being in, then they'll be more successful. We plan to increase our enrollment. We plan to increase our credit hour production. We plan to increase our dual enrollment numbers. We've been very fortunate with the partnerships that we've had with Mobile County Public Schools, private schools, home schools, all of the schools that are within our service area. They are all feeding us dual enrollment students. So we want to make sure that we continue to support those programs and support those students. We have a few programs that we're working on in terms of adding. We're looking at bringing back funeral science, because that's such a
Yes,
need
yes.
in our community. We're looking at adding more programs, or bringing back another program that we lost a few years ago. We lost our auto body program. We want to bring back that auto body program, and I know the auto dealers and collision repair shops in the area would absolutely love that. We're actually looking at expanding aviation. Right? Airbus does a fantastic job, but whenever you bring aviation related jobs, there are all these support jobs that kind of feed that industry. We want to make sure that we're the training grounds for all of those programs. So we are looking at ways to partner with our sister college, Coastal, to see if we can pull our funds and our resources together. And I'm real excited about this, and create a regional aviation training center that will serve everything from Pensacola all the way to Gulfport, where Mobile, Alabama becomes the regional aviation training hub of our state. So we've got big dreams, Dr. Richardson, and we plan to move this college forward and move this community forward, because my goal for as long as I'm the president of Bishop State is to help every single person that walks through our doors walk out of our doors better, but to also being able to support their family as well. So it's life's work. It's a mission-driven work. And I can tell you that out of all of the things that I just bragged about that either we have or we have coming, it would not be possible without two things. One, we have an amazing faculty and staff here. We have people that have worked at NASA. We have people that have worked in the highest levels of corporate. And I'm so grateful that they choose to be here and choose to be at Bishop State. We have just a fantastic faculty and staff that just give everything they have every single day. And I can promise you that every single one of them empties their bucket every day to help our students. So I'm grateful for that. But I'm also grateful to our community, because they support Bishop State. I haven't had to work hard to get community support. I feel like it was already there. Gracious to people like you and our mayor and all of the people in our community that just support Bishop State and support what we're trying to do. So I'm very, very grateful for that. So we would not be able to do the things that we do without that. And I would not be able to do the things that I do if I didn't have a supportive wife who lets me go outside and play sometimes,
Yeah,
I'm
that's right.
grateful for
Always acknowledge the queen, brother.
Hey,
Acknowledge the queen.
I've learned some things along the year. I should have done that first, to be honest with you, but
Don't worry,
I'm
I had
very,
it on my list. It was on my checkoff list to make sure we got the mama first, but we were coming to the first lady.
I'm very grateful for my wife, Dr. Angela Charles, who is an assistant principal within our school system. She is a fantastic wife, a fantastic mother, a great leader, and poor her, she's raising two kids. She's raising me and our daughter. So I'm very grateful for her. She is amazing. She is an amazing woman.
All praise to the Most High God for assigning us beautiful helpmates and partners.
Amen.
I tell you, I can't say often enough how, my wife has a mug, right? It says, I don't need Google because my husband knows everything. And I can't tell you the number of times that she corrects me and says, "You sure you mean it like that?" And sometimes you really have got to pay attention to those people that are influential. Well, I'm not gonna say enough. You've given kudos to the queen. I echo those kudos to you, brother.
Yes,
So
sir. Yes, sir.
hey, listen, man, we're just about out of time. But what I did want to say to you is you talked a little bit about all the stuff you got going on, the remarkable campus improvements. The metrics are just off the chart. This is typically the part of the interview where I say, what is it that you'd like to tell our loyal listeners about ways they can be engaged or participate or help or support? And you've got a lot of that on lock already. I'm going to say it in a different way today because it's you. I'm going to say, what can I do to be a support to you in the community, to your students, your staff, to the vision for the future. I want you to put me to work.
Well,
That's how motivated you got me, brother.
you got to be careful with that statement now. You know,
I know what I'm saying, and I'm saying it on the air. Okay.
I can tell you something that's near and dear to I think all of our hearts is that we are trying to establish an alumni association for Bishop State. And the reason for that is every time I go speak somewhere or I go talk to a group, I'm always overwhelmed by this spirit of pride from people that went to school at Bishop State. And it's because of our history, right? 100 years ago, literally 100 years ago, Bishop State started as a branch of Alabama State University.
Yes.
This was the only place south of Montgomery that Black people that wanted to be teachers could go to school. So naturally, you know, a lot of people went here, then they finished their degree at Alabama State, then they came home to teach. You know, fast forward 100 years later, you know, 1927 to almost 2027, you know, Bishop State now has 4 campuses. We have over 40 programs, and we've got thousands of alumni. But when we go back to the impetus, to the beginning, when we were just a branch, there are so many families that were started from that. I've met so many people that said my parents met at the branch, so I went to the branch. You know, this is where my family started. This is where my lineage started. And I want to get those people re-engaged into what we have going on. We don't want to ask them for money. We just want them to know what's going on at their alma mater. So I need help. We're working on starting this alumni association. Our goal is to have 10,000 people in our alumni association by the end of this calendar year. We think we can do it. We think that there's that much love and that much support out there that it's absolutely free to sign up. So if you're out there and you're listening and you are a Bishop State alumni, and we define alumni as someone that just took a class. You do not have to have graduated from Bishop State, but if you took a class with us, you are an alumni or friend of Bishop State, please go fill out this free contact card. And I've got a stack of them. In fact, they look like this. Fill out this free contact card that just, I'll hold it to the camera. It's blurry. I don't know why. But it just it's your name, it's your address, it's things like that. And all we want to do is just send you some emails and maybe a magazine about what we have going on at Bishop State. And we would just love to keep our community engaged in all of the good things we have going on. So that is where I need your help, good brother, because you have a voice. And I want to use your voice to help us amplify and build this alumni association.
That being said, consider that done. And I just want to echo that sentiment because I was involved in some research activities as related to the historic Africatown community over the last 10 years or more. And the thing that I found that echoes exactly what you're talking about relative to the Alumni Association. Today, we look back at jobs like teachers or nursing, and we think about it as entree points for the women in our community to get professional careers. But I have heard countless stories about that ASU Bishop State connection relative to the Teachers College and what it really represented in our community to have people that cared about the students in the classroom. You know, you and I come from an era, maybe more so myself being somewhat older than you, that there were the community raised us, a village raised us, you know, that if I was misbehaving, your mama or your grandmother could have disciplined me and I better shut my mouth and take it and recognize that, you know, the community was involved in that. And that educational process is so much a part of that 100-year history you're talking about, because I can't tell you the number of people I run into that tell me that the teachers back then cared about the students, would walk to your house, would talk to your mama, would make sure your homework was done. And what that represented to us over the course of our development, notwithstanding the atrocities of you know, lynching and civil rights violations and changes in the law, but that community is so much a part of it. And wow, yeah, I'm down.
Yes,
Look,
sir.
we are just about out of time. I'm going to pause now for the cause and just put a pin in it right there. But I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, how grateful I am to your team, your staff, all that you got going on in the community. And I'd like us to maybe consider doing this again, because clearly an hour is not enough. You just covered the bullet points for me, and we're already feeling full and blessed and not necessarily overwhelmed, but inspired and encouraged, because that is our mission, to inform our community, entertain on some opportunities when it's available, but ultimately my goal is to inspire you. So thank you, President Olivier Charles of Bishop State Community College, for being our guest, our very special guest. So
Thank you.
with that being said, I'm going to pause us right now, and I'm going to come right back, and we're going to wrap up this conversation.